Today we're going to do Lesson 10 problem set all about modeling the distributive property with arrays to decompose units as a strategy to multiply. So we've been talking a lot about the commutative property, and we have recently just learned about the distributive property. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Remembering that distributive has that word distribute in it, which means I'm going to share some of my numbers. Okay. So problem number 1, you can see that I have 7 times 3 is my problem. So I have my whole array is 7 rows, 5, 6, 7, with 3 in each row. Now, as we talked about with lesson 9, I can break apart my array into 2 arrays that are easier for me to manage. So I can do a 5 times 3 array and a 2 times 3 array, because my 5s and my 2s are easier for me than maybe my 7s. Okay, so if I have a 5 times 3 array, I know 5 times 3 is 15. And remember that 5 times 3 comes from 5 rows with 3 in each row. My 2 times 3 array, right here, equals how many? Well, 2 rows with 3 in each row, that gives me 6. You can see that my numbers are in parentheses here for my problems, because down here I'm going to be adding those together. 5 times 3 from my first array, 2 times 3 from my second array. 5 times 3 is 15, 2 times 3 we said was 6. Okay, so I'm adding 15 plus, what did we say up here? 15 plus 6. I can put 15 in my head, count up 6 more, and I get 21. So that means all the way back here to the beginning that 7 times 3, or 5 times 3 plus 2 times 3, is 21. It's going to take some practice doing these problems to really get used to this process. So instead of talking and talking and talking, let's move on to our second example just to get some more practice. So our second one, we have 8 times 3. So my whole array is 8 rows with 3 in each row. Now this array is broken down into a 4 times 3 and a 4 times 3, because you'll notice that when we have 7 as one of our factors, we use a 5 and a 2. When I have 8 as my factor, I use a 4 and a 4, because I have 4 times 3 and 4 times 3. What do you notice about those? They're the same thing. So whenever I figure out one, well, I automatically know the other, so that makes it really nice. So 8 times 3, I have a 4 times 3 array and a 4 times 3 array. Let's fill out our information for those right here. We already said it was a 4 times 3 array for both of them. 4 times 3 is, well, let's count. 3, 6, 9, 12. 4 times 3 is 12. Now if that 4 times 3 is 12, then that 4 times 3 is 12. So let's fill out our boxes down here. 4 times 3 plus 4 times 3 equals what plus what? Well, what did we say 4 times 3 was? We said 4 times 3 was 12, so I'm going to put a 12 in both of those blanks. So 4 times 3 plus 4 times 3 equals 12 plus 12. So something times 3 equals blank. Well, what was my whole entire array? My whole entire array was 8 times 3 equals my first array plus my second array. So 12 plus 12 is 24. So 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, again, so we're breaking our array into 2 separate arrays, and then we're just adding those back together after we figure out what they equal. Problem 3, we're going to draw our own this time. Ruby makes a photo album. One page is shown below. Ruby puts 3 photos in each row. Fill in the equations on the right and use them to help you draw arrays that show the photos on the top and bottom parts of the page. So I know that Ruby puts 3 photos in each row. So I need to figure out how many how many rows of photos she puts for me to have 6 photos. If I know she has 3 in each row, all I need to do are draw rows of 3 until I get to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many rows did I draw? 2. So 2 times 3 equals 6. We're going to do the same thing for the bottom until we get to 9, because something times 3 equals 9. Drawing rows of 3 until I get to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many rows did I draw? 3. 3 times 3 equals 9. Ruby calculates the total number of photos as shown below. 5 times 3 equals 6 plus 9 equals 15. Use the array you drew to help explain Ruby's calculation. Well, let's start with the beginning. Where did the 5 times 3 come from? 5 times 3 is my number of rows times my number in each row. So let's start by typing that. There are 5 rows with 3 in each row. So we did 5 times 3. Stretch that out bigger. Okay. 3 taps. Now my next part is 6 plus 9. Looking back at my picture, where do you see 6 and where do you see 9? Well, 6 is the top part of the page, and 9 is the bottom. So let's write that down. There are 6 in the top array and 9 in the bottom. So we add 6 plus 9. Three taps. The last thing that we need to talk about is where this 15 comes from. So looking back at our problem, where do we get 15? Well, if you look at your whole entire array and your 6 plus your 9, 6 plus 9 is 15. We could also say, what about 5 times 3? 5 times 3 is 15. 6 plus 9 equals 15. 5 times 3 equals 15. And then we can say there are, I'll make it in my new bubble. There are 15 photos in all. Okay, so you can see how we talked about each different part of our problem. You can save this problem set today as M1L10.